So while the design is being glued into the back of the body, I'm going to start thinking about the neck. I like laminated necks. I mean, I like non-laminated necks too, but I just felt like maybe doing a laminated neck. So I've done a laminated neck before. I've done a couple where the neck has 3 pieces. This neck, however, is going to have 7 pieces. The lighter wood is tawa, the slightly darker wood, the reddish wood, is rimu. Why do I always want to say rimu? Rimu. And the headstock, given the length, because I just used pieces that I had available, and the tawa is shorter. The length is such that I think the headstock will probably be made from another kind of wood, or one of these, but it won't be made out of this laminate that I'm about to glue up, which is fine. Done that before, works well. I will glue them in groups of 3 because I'm going to be using spring clamps, and a spring clamp will go comfortably around one of those. So I'll glue that group together, then glue that group together, and then glue them both to the middle one. Okay, let's get gluing. Now, in principle, this is it's very straightforward. No reason why it shouldn't be. I'm using spring clamps to hold the glue joint together, but just to hold the wood down, and in an effort to stop things from sliding around too much, or at all really. Yep. I'm just going to hold the whole piece steady with an F-clamp there. Just because you can't have too many clamps, I will put these on, and then I will apply some F-clamps as well. Now, I don't have enough clamps to do this for 2 groups of 3 pieces all at once, so I'll let this one glue overnight, and then I'll come back to what I hope will be a rather lovely neck. Right, time to take these clamps off. It is the day after. Okay, it's a bit messy now with all the glue all over it. I'll give it a bit of a scrape up, and I see they haven't been glued together quite level. That's okay. I'm going to put this across my jointer, and plane one side flat, and then put it through the thicknesser so that both sides are flat, and then we'll be able to see what we've got here. Okay, so that's certainly pretty flat. So let's put this through the thicknesser. Comes to wood selection, as long as you know that the type of wood you have has the right texture, it's sufficiently hard, it's not too soft like pine. Really all that matters after that is how does it look. And I spotted this on a lovely piece of rimu that I sliced off in order to make the body pieces for the Coffin guitar thin enough. I noticed what looked like a really nice patterning of the grain there. And so I did the outline using what is currently my favorite template. It's just unfortunate that sometimes really nice patterns in the wood are caused by defects, because I then turned it over and saw that there was a dirty great knot with a split there. And that's what's causing that really nice looking pattern here, so I won't be able to use that piece. I mean, the whole piece of wood is quite nice though, so I'll use something from up here where it looks pretty sound on both sides. I'm making the scarf joint now, so I need to cut an angle into the neck. The clamps are off and this thing is looking good. I've taken those screws out, they did the job, there was no movement there. Nice. I've done some minor trimming on the bandsaw. I've cut off the parts of the headstock piece that was sticking way over the edge, and I've just cut out what I could get to with the bandsaw of the neck piece that was sticking out into those curves there. I'll probably use a flush trim router bit on the table to sort that out. Okay, let's proceed to get this neck made. So I've glued on this fretboard and done something a little bit different. In the past, whenever I've done binding, I've always used plastic binding, but this time I've used some thin strips of wood, well, wooden binding, which actually looks quite nice. The problem though, is always something. This is a really nicely inlaid fretboard with that flame design, but while I was sanding in the radius, a piece of the inlay came out. I think it may have, is it fallen back in there or something, but it's obviously not there anymore, which is kind of a disaster. I don't think I can I don't know how it would come back from that. Maybe see if I can get that piece out, if it's in there, and if it's fallen in, doesn't that mean there's a hole behind it? So something's not right there. I hope that hasn't killed this neck. See, the more work you put into a neck, the more crucial each stage becomes as you go along. And I've put quite a bit of work into this neck. So I'll have to think about how, if at all, I can remedy that situation, which is not good. Another thing is that I sanded the radius perhaps a bit too much, because that white is the side dot marker. So I think what I'm really saying is this isn't going to be a good enough guitar neck to put in anything that I'm going to sell, which is a real kicker. I mean, it wasn't difficult to make, it just took time, so I guess I can do it again. Short story, I get to keep the neck. That's great. Here's why. I normally use Wells Bond for attaching fretboards. It's really good. That's running out, so I tried with a different sort of glue. The description made this sound good. Thank you, Aeroplane, for ruining my video. Sally's Aqua here, but, well, I don't want to say it's not good, but it doesn't have as strong a bond as this glue, and because it's not as strong, I was able to get the fretboard off, thanks to a chisel and a mallet. Carefully, of course, very carefully. Shame to lose it, it is nice, but, you know, that's the way things go. So now I just need to get another fretboard on there, a 25.5-inch scale and 24 frets. I might even find one exactly the same. And then I'll come back and we'll proceed. Well, that was relatively painless. You can see all my rubbish and bits of tape that were holding the binding on. Right, so I've got a new fretboard on, which looks suspiciously like the last one, but it's not damaged, and I hope I can avoid damaging it. Here's a technique that you can use to make sure that you have properly radiused your fretboard, so it's all part of that curve. There are no flat spots that haven't been sanded yet, because it might be easy to be sanding away here, and of course the radius being what it is, it'll sand the edges off first, and you'll get to a point where the surface looks curved, but there's actually a small flat spot in the middle. And the way to avoid that is take whatever works for you, but I've got here a white watercolor coloring pencil. It's nice and soft, opaque, very easy to see on a dark surface like that. And just put some X's up the middle. There doesn't have to be one on every fret. The point is you can see that you haven't sanded down the middle yet, as long as those white X's are there. And so when you get close to being finished, you just stop and you check every now and then. And if those X's are still there, you're not finished. But as soon as those X's disappear, then you should stop so that you don't take off too much. And you can be confident then that you have, in fact, sanded the whole surface to that radius. And that's what I need to do now. Well, the sanding is done. Now I'm about to do something which is always quite a special moment. There are very few moments of transformation that are so immediate and sometimes stunning as when you first apply linseed oil to your fretboard. It just really brings out the contrast. It makes everything look better. Just get a look at that. All right, what will come next? What will come next? Carving the neck, I imagine. I like carving the neck.